Hello and welcome to Nerdarky for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdcast Dave. Today I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Sure.
I'm doing great, but I did not click the button to unmute you, so they heard none of that from you.
Okay, I'm Nerdarky 10. How are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I must have I missed the click. I blame the Bill Gates nanobots.
Well, you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. So what are we talking about tonight? Backgrounds?
Tonight we're talking about backgrounds. It's also the first Monday of the month, which means we've got, giveaways and fan game stuff to talk about. So there's a whole bunch on the schedule. I got a box down here of what I'm going to give away. I got a pile over here of what we're going to give away next month.
Ooh, lots of stuff. That's always fun.
Lots of stuff. Yeah, it's always amusing when we get to this kind of setup. But we're talking about backgrounds, and there's a lot to unpack when you begin looking at a character background. And I pulled up D&D Beyond, and if math actually serves me, there's over 80 options in D&D Beyond. Once you start counting all of the different variants and what have you for backgrounds that are official fifth edition Wizards of the Coast stuff. So I think that's pretty amusing, and it covers a pretty wide area. But I wonder, like, what's actually missing. So I kind of went over to D&D Beyond's homebrew background,
Yeah,
and there's like 277 pages.
I bet so many of them are terrible though.
There are probably, I clearly did not spend the time to look through all 277 pages. I went through, the first handful and of pages and then jumped all the way to the end. But there's stuff that's there. There's some interesting options. I wonder, is there anything that you feel is kind of missing?
I don't know. We talked about like the idea of doing a cultist background,
Mhm.
which might even be a variant on
Acolyte.
Acolyte. I think it's still a little bit different than the Acolyte. Um, Backgrounds are really tough because it's like the trick is to make them interesting and flavorful without having them actually do anything, right? Like instantly, if you look at a background and it gives you mechanical benefit in the future, it's garbage, right? You can
Right.
just throw it away. It's not. They're not. They're just really not meant to do it.
Right.
Um, and even like I feel like even like Wizards messed up a little bit with the Outlander in that sense because I feel like of all of them, the Outlander actually does too much as far as backgrounds go because all the features generally they should be things that kind of like enhance the experience, facilitate role playing, not just like. But instead, it's like they tried to put a couple in that were geared towards the exploration pillar, and it's like they didn't know what to do, so they just made them bypass stuff,
Hmm.
right? Like with the Outlander, it's like you get to just feed people, and you don't have to do anything for it. And then there is the urchin background, which gives you like the fast movement through the city. Which
Right.
that one's not as bad because I feel like that could lead to some cool things. But the other one is just like overcome this hardship and oh Ranger, were you hanging out here? Did you need to do something for the party? Well, we have an Outlander,
Right. Right.
so forget about it.
So I've dabbled around, and as our viewers out there may or may not be aware, we do a weekly newsletter, and our newsletter is usually tied to one of the past live chat themes, and that all gets filtered to the website so that you can be able to track it there as well. So I've actually already begun writing my background article or newsletter piece, and I decided I was going to take my hand at writing a background. It's not quite done, but I'm most of the way through what's there. Um, and at the design process, when you got to the feature, I'm like, all right, what do I do? And I wound up kind of going through that process where I'm like, all right, well, what if I did this? No, that's got this kind of thing. No, that's not going to work. It breaks, the fifth edition norm.
Yeah.
And then when I looked at the concept of, oh, well, how does this work here? And I went with something that basically gives you three contacts, that you can work with your GM by being able to, say where these people are, who they are, and then the GM would be able to, stat them, and the two of you can, use them accordingly. So this gives you aspect of, well, someone, but it's up to the GM as to what they actually are. It could be a commoner, or it might not be, depending upon what's useful for the game.
Yeah, way back when I did an animal tamer or trainer or something on the website, but I feel like that was many, many moons ago.
Comment from Viking Beard 1970. Thank you for liking the untraditionally arcane. That was kind of loosely inspired by our video series of the whole class party. And when I brought that idea up to the group, they tossed around a handful of differences that they would be willing to play. Of those options, to me, the most interesting was an all wizard game. And so far, everybody seems to be really enjoying it. I won't give any kind of spoilers, but I thought last session was a lot of fun with some definite interesting variables to play with and see where things go when next we gather.
How many of them are you have you done?
We did episode 3 this past Friday night, and we have not learned how long this campaign is going to go. It's more of a free form game than the previous ones, which were like a hard set, like 12 scripts. So I like the freedom of, okay, well, if we don't get a lot of push this session, I don't feel the need to like, oh well, we've got to push on, we got to keep playing until we get to this story beat. Uh, so I'm keeping into that hour time frame that is the Nerdarky sweet spot for our stream games.
Yeah. So if anybody cares, I'll drop the link in the chat for the animal trainer I did.
So I was looking at at D&D Beyond, and there is a zookeeper option, which I think that could kind of go hand in hand with your animal trainer. I feel that someone working with animals is definitely something that is definitely lacking in the official capacity.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of how you want to permeate that, whether it be, oh, well, I just, run the stables or what have you. I don't feel that anything short of like the folk hero really gives me the feeling of I know what I'm doing. And I don't always want that folk hero aspect. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that implies I did something great. And I don't want to have to have done something great if I want to know how to use a land vehicle and know how to deal with animals.
So this article is from 2015. March of 20. So folks can see how I did back then.
Yeah, that's we've learned a lot, as content creators over the years, and there's definitely I would say there's probably a things that might have broken, but it is what it
Yeah.
is.
So how do you feel about backgrounds overall in 5e? Because I mean, it's new to the edition. It's a new chunk to play with.
I enjoy what it gives uh, because what's listed there, I can apply that to any character, and there is going to be a difference. If I have a folk hero wizard versus a soldier wizard, my character is going to be vastly different. If I go with the folk hero option, well, perhaps my character had done something great and that got notice by somebody, as opposed to in a town, that got me notice in the city, and I was now gifted, for whatever task that I had done, patronage into a sorceress academy or a wizard academy, and I got my training paid for because I did something cool. Whereas if I was a soldier wizard, like to me that seems, if perhaps I was scarred by this physical life when I was more interested in books. So as soon as I did my stint in the local militia, I hot-tailed it out of there with my pay and got to a library as quickly as possible and found the calling that was really there for me. And I don't have any mechanical ties to one thing or another making me a better wizard. It's just a cool story. And then mechanically, you do get skills, languages, tools, which, depending upon how you want to put together your character, if there's something specific that you're looking for, you can try to find a way to make the story work so that you can have those things that you want. Or if you care more about the story, okay, you go with the story angle. But either way, your stats are not affected by it. Whereas when you're looking at the Pathfinder 2, your background has a stat plus to it, and therefore, if you don't choose an appropriate stat modifier or appropriate background that gives you a stat modifier, you are suffering if you care about an optimal build.
Well, I don't think that's quite accurate because most of them, it's like a choice between like two things, and then like there's like always a floating plus. So I feel like that's why the
Well,
floating
I,
plus is in there, so that you can
I
always like
only I
float it where
only
you
did it
need it.
once. I might have done it once, like when the playtest rules were out. So maybe that was different, when I did it versus what was the final release. But I made what I thought was a fun and flavorful character, and my character was definitely suboptimal when it was built. Had I gone in a different direction, so I mean, it was literally one experience that I have to build this opinion off of. And I know that Pathfinder, built on the third edition engine, tends to go in the direction of oh well, you should spec out your character properly, and if you don't, there are consequences. So
So our friend James Intercosto has a background here called Monster. And the
wow.
idea is you were something else before and you've been permanently polymorphed. I'm digging it.
Huh, that is
And the
crazy.
feature is a little off. And basically, it's like you have weird or off putting behaviors and habits, and most people just kind of accept them from you just because. But it's like super minor.
So we got a weird question from Tech and Motorcycles. It says you can't multi-class as a cleric wizard. I don't know who said that, where you heard that, but no, you absolutely can play a cleric wizard. I've seen it happen. There's no rule about it. As long as you have both a 13 in wisdom and intelligence, you can make it happen.
Yeah, unless your DM says no, then yeah. As long as you're using the multi-classing rules.
Some yeah.
Yeah. That
Wow,
is,
someone's calling out.
your internet's a little off tonight, man. You're getting a little robot voicey on me.
Um, I don't know. I mean, the most of the family is had to pull the plug from screen, so I don't know why. We're getting something weird.
I don't know, unless it's
I
on my
apologize.
end. But that's all right, Robo Ted. It's Mecha Ted. What have you done with real Ted, Mecha Ted?
Oh, this a robot stand-in. My vacation that's supposed to start tomorrow morning.
Either that
I've
or
already
maybe
fled and
maybe
I'm
maybe the
leaving New Jersey.
vaccine has taken over. Now you're Robo Ted, Mecha Ted.
I am one shot in, but I very much doubt that the vaccine is turning me into a robot.
I would have tried to got it faster if it would turn me into a robot. Never been a robot before.
Well, I mean, if it gives me better endurance or better muscle control. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I missed running.
Mecha Ted drops
My
the whole
body does
party.
not like running anymore.
Have you, speaking of Mecha, have you seen Kong versus Godzilla?
I have not. It's on my radar, but it's probably going to be a while before I watch it. I just got caught up the other day on Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I'm finally up to speed there and understanding all of the Captain America memes that were being dropped over the last few days or weeks.
Oh yeah, I'm not on Facebook, so I don't get memes anymore. They don't appear other places the way they do on Facebook. Yeah. So I picked up HBO Max for the month. I'll just get it for one
Okay.
month, so I could watch the movie. Plus, and now we're also ripping through Teen Titans too, which is pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Is Robot Ted actually the final boss of Dungeons and Delving? From Steven. I don't think we're going
Well,
to be high enough level to take on Robo Ted.
Are you sure? Because I don't know how high Robotech of a challenge I would be.
Well, it's your challenge
But,
rating plus a bunch for the Robo.
so 0.
Plus,
I don't think I would be in the fight right now. It's been, despite the fact that, I've been trying to get more exercise, I have not picked up a sword in quite some time with any intent to use it. So yeah, definitely out of practice for a long time on that regards. And that's the only thing I legitimately know how to use. So
do you have a favorite background or one you tend to gravitate towards?
yeah, and you call me out on this every so often. I was actually just about to ask you the same question. So Acolyte, I think is a good one. My general persona, I think it's good to kind of tie in a religion to a character.
So now I know when we do like the CBGs, you go to that one a lot, but do you find that you're actually playing that one a lot too?
I have. I do try to mix it up when I make characters so that I'm using a wide selection.
Yeah.
Uh, but I look at Acolyte because when you live in a world where there's no doubt the gods exist, I would imagine your character should worship or pay homage to some degree to some kind of god or another, even if it's just a pittance of like, all right, yeah, I carry a token for the god of this or god of that, just so that you have something.
Maybe we need to
And once
make
you
that
do
god.
so, you know, this way it's something that is already built into your character, so that you can ask, okay, well, I'm going to worship this god, therefore these are the things that I would typically do. Oh well, you know what, I'm worshiping the god of peace. All right, I'm going to talk before I draw my weapon. That's a standard thing that I do. Oh, I worship, the god of gold and money. All right, my character is greedy. I'm looking to get a bigger share of the treasure. Any of these kind of little nuances, little things that your character would do for good or for ill. So therefore, the most religious of the backgrounds is going to be Acolyte. So what about you? Do you have one that you tend to gravitate towards, or one that you consider your favorite?
I've I've used the urchin background for no less than 3 characters that I
Okay.
played. My Raised by Goblins character. Although, yeah, I think I could have done Outlander with that one, but I did do urchin. Um, let's see. I did
You did Urchin with the goblin with the half orc.
Goblin with the half orc. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Willis?
Talking about your
Oh, yes,
half
yes,
orc
yes. My
from
half orc.
the Bastards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think he's an urchin, and also Jogo was an urchin, and Get Out of Here might have been an urchin as well.
Get out of here. Was that your Aarakocra?
Close,
Sorry,
Kenku.
no, Kenko. Kenko.
Yeah.
I knew bird person, and I just brain went to Aarakocra.
Yeah, no, I was picking up on that vibe. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess maybe I'm guilty of being strong in the orphan vein when it comes to my D&D characters.
Sure.
Maybe.
So shout out to Tekken Motorcycles. Yes, the Nerdarky dice are still available over on the website. If you are looking for some amazing aircraft grade aluminum Nerdarky stamped
Yeah.
dice, they are there. And
They are not standard metal dice either. Those things are lighter than your Chessex regular set of dice. That's the thing that always amazes me.
yeah, they are sweet. They're beautiful, and they are in limited quantity. So get
Yeah.
them while you still can. But double underscore wants to know if the haunted one is still the least favorite background.
No, they fixed it. Like it just pissed me off because like there's a formula, right? And when they break the formula, it really irks me to no end. You're supposed to get four things from a background. You're supposed to get your two skills and then either or then either a gaming set tool or a language combination that equals two as well. But for some reason, it was like no, you just get one weird language. That's equal to two.
Yeah, that was annoying. So pretty much whenever someone played a haunted one in one of my games before they made the fix, I gave them a language or a tool set of choice as well, just to make it fair. And
Not
apparently,
me. I used it as an opportunity to remind them that Wizards of the Coast hated them for their choice and hated the haunted one so very much. I kid, I kid. Yeah, so they fixed it, right? Because now it's cool because you get a choice of two skills, right? Which is kind of cool because it's Arcana, Investigation, Religion, or Survival. And you get to choose two languages, one of which is exotic. So
and
that is kind of cool.
that can be a lot of fun, especially if you're playing with a DM who is very strict about languages.
Yeah. Well, that's the other
And
thing why the exotic language wasn't that big a deal. Because like in our games, we're kind of like I don't even think one of our DMs would even notice that you took an exotic language, let alone tell you couldn't do it.
and that's what I was gonna kind of get at is like, you
Yeah.
have conversations with some people and they're like, oh, I thought, my language selection was just here. And other people are like, oh no, I just took all of this, and I'm like, okay then, hey, have that thing. So, it's definitely interesting to see how different tables and play styles affect choices once you begin kind of streaming online and talking to people.
You also get that sweet, sweet gothic trinket.
Indeed.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I got to type when it comes to backgrounds, and it might be urchin. Yeah, but also, well, first of all, they get a pet mouse, right? There's that, and then I just like their combinations of skills and stuff, and also their their city secrets is kind of like a cool thing.
It's a must-have if you're playing an urban game.
Yeah, I mean, sleight of hand, stealth, disguise, get these tools. It is like one of the. It's one. I think there's only two backgrounds that give you these tools too. So if you don't want to be a criminal, but you want to have criminal like skills, the urchin is kind of the way to go.
Yeah, and it's up to you as to flavor like how that kind of comes about. And the book that I'm reading is definitely a bit of a weird thing that I happened to just randomly find on Facebook. Somebody talking about it, but the character's like 14, and they wind up dealing with an urchin who's like 9 years old who can do all of these crazy things, and so much of it seems to fit well within the gaming terminology of what an urchin can do. So it's amusing to see that kind of stuff. It seems like it's been influenced by that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but
Yeah.
it definitely looks like.
Well, nah, I think it's a trope. I think it is a trope. Like if you look at like Short Round from Indiana Jones, like that, I think like the kid that kind of grows up on the street and they're kind of savvy and know their way around is definitely kind of a trope. So there's that as well. So we are closing in on the halfway mark. You wanna break out the goodies?
All right. So this month, this is the giveaway, and it's a pretty big pile. So I'm gonna go through it pretty quick. So from our friends over at Dungeon Crate, you've got a Halcyon map puzzle. It's a 200-piece set. We've got a copy of the No Prep Game Master. We've got Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden notebook. The North Road by the Quest Givers. From the amazing people over at Easy Roller Dice, we have a dice tray and metal dice set. And then from City of Mist, we have the box set and the character folios. The winner for this has been selected. I'll pull up the list, random number generator, as I typically always do. I'll send them an email from my Nerdarky email address, and that is Stefan Backup. So I hope I pronounced that correctly. If not, I do apologize. We're horrible at reading names. But so that is what has already been decided. That's what's being shipped out as soon as I get that reply. But next month, if you sign up for our giveaway stuff, this whole pile is what's going on that list. So our lovely friends over at Creature Curation, I have got a gelatinous cube pin and a Atmar's Cartography, the Dangerous Traps and Obstacles, a set of Gary Con dice, also from Easy Roller Dice, one of their giant D20s. This is gunmetal gray with blue.
Oh, you could take somebody out with that. You could stop a burglar.
Absolutely. Found a couple more of the little counters from TNT Laserworks. Another copy of North Road from Quest Givers. Heroes Feast, the official D&D cookbook. From Goodman Games, we've got 4 different adventure books. It's the Forgotten Hive, Fantastic Encounters, Eye of the Leviathan, and the Fallen Temple. This one's been sitting on the shelf for a while. I decided to throw it in. A copy of Opalon Destiny Rising RPG. This is the player's handbook. Copy of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and the Dungeon Master Screen Wilderness Kit. So quite extensive pile of stuff here.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, the pile does not seem to be really getting any smaller. So I'm trying to make it diminish.
Ted cannot defeat this. The challenge is too high. The rating, you're not adequate level to challenge this.
Sorry, man. There's just a lot here. So I'm thinking. So that's April. That's May. So June, I'm thinking is going to be big on minis because I've got a whole scat of minis here to get rid of too. So that's what I'm thinking for that. So yeah.
So definitely join the newsletter.
Join that newsletter.
If you want your name entered in there.
Get that in there and get added to that list, which that list also, you can get in and get into our game with Nerdarky for the month of April. The fan game is actually going to be run by Doug. And unfortunately, I did not contact him early enough in the day to be like, hey, when is that fan game? So
he's in the chat. He may answer you.
So, Doug, I see that you are in the chat, as Dave has said.
This is your only answering emojis, though. Make us figure out what you actually mean.
So here is your list of players, and you can determine when. And the email has already been sent to you, so that you can email them at your leisure. But we've got Norman Abeg, Trent Tinker, Harlem Glenn Rickson, John Hanson, Derek LeBlanc, Jesse Ware, Daniel Bakelzon, Ian Richardson, Connor Wilson, and Ed Robinson. So, and I totally went, via screen as opposed to printing out. So I'm getting more
Oh my
echo friendly.
God, Ted's going high tech on us.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it high tech, but and he's already responded. So April 26th at 3:30 p.m. There it is. It's called out there. So that is when the fan game is going to be. If I happen to call out your name and you heard it, look for an email from myself if you're the winner of that box, or from Doug if you're selected for the fan game. And only the first X number, as determined by Doug, will be able to get in on that game. So yeah. All right. There's my homework. There's my
Your spiel. You're done.
I'm not done, but I mean, I'm done with the necessities. I've taken care of the business that needs to be done.
Business. You're talking about business. There was like a question. Oh yeah, Aaron Parks. You think something like occult tools, Ouija board, divining rod, runes, and such would be good to make up a tool set for a haunted one to detect spirits, whatever around them. Obviously, that's pretty thematic, and also, in one of the products we put out on the website, we do have it's almost dedicated to tools, and there's ritual supplies in there which contains some of those things for kind of like for the occult stuff. As far as like for the background though, while it's thematic, it's tough because you have to be careful of like wandering through the territory of doing too much with your background stuff.
Right.
I think it kind of comes down to like, what does, like, in some ways, would you like kind of maybe let those implements take the place of religion or arcana checks, maybe? And maybe in the sense that you don't know the information, but you can kind of obtain the information using your Ouija board or using your divining rod. So you can kind of like role play that a little bit. But it wouldn't be like but it couldn't be as potent as spell casting, right? You'd still kind of have to make a check the way you would as if you're making the skill check, and then it couldn't tell you anything more than you would know from the skill per se. I mean,
Right.
that's how I think I would do it.
I think that's all a good suggestion, good valid points. I like the concept of a Ouija board or drawing runes, but you have to look at, is it any more than a random roll of the dice? If you draw runes or you play tarot, is it something? And I'm not trying to um, insult or belittle those who feel that that's there and they know how to work the cards, but to like the majority of populace who just feel like, okay, it's just a random draw, and can you legitimately interpret what's there, or are you just kind of making stuff up? And then to kind of bring that into a game, like, you could just have a roll of the dice and see what happens. um, so I think some of that could even be brought into charlatan and go in that direction. Or I
Oh
think
yeah.
you could go into the ritual supplies that we came up with, and know that legitimately is a thing in our world, and the gods do influence it. So you have to figure out in your game, in your world, how are you doing it. And again, no insult to any beliefs or what have you. Just looking at the broader spectrum and how everyone is going to interpret such things.
So Michael Melbourne has a care worker background because he's got a retirement home for adventurers.
um, so that is interesting. I would
I
not think
feel like if you're like basing your stuff off of kind of like European, Western, medieval times, like you didn't have to worry about that because no one lived long enough. Like it was less of an issue.
Yeah, I never thought the idea of, a retirement home for adventurers would kind of be a thing. Like typically, you adventure until you've accomplished whatever you've set out to do or made enough money that you're like, nah, I don't need to do this stuff anymore. I'm just gonna go put my feet up.
Yeah. So Viking Beard 1970. With so many pre-made adventures today, it doesn't require running the same character. So what is the push for background flesh out? So I mean, I guess really we're just like theory crafting, pondering, being nerds on the internet for the most part. Um, it, you know, I feel like most of the bases are pretty much covered, and it's getting and harder to come up with new and interesting backgrounds.
So yeah, we're not trying to say like, we need to create more. We're not saying anything, like that, even though, we as content creators, we do like to come up with new stuff, just so that there are more options out there for those people who are looking for it.
Sometimes we're just inspired too, like um, sometimes like there's definitely been times during videos that we've like come up with variant backgrounds and stuff. Like, what was the one for the when we were talking about gnomes in the swamp barbarians?
Oh,
I feel like we came up with like a swamp guide or something.
I don't I that one was quite some time ago, so I don't recall that at all. I think we'll have to go find that video and
And like when we were talking about cultists, like the idea that a cultist background might be like slightly different than the acolyte.
absolutely, yeah, because
Um,
with the acolyte, you're getting things that are tied to working with people and working in the faith, whereas with the cultist, you have a split life for the most part. You do what you do in the normal day, and then at night you take on this persona that you don't want anyone else to know. So you need to have, I feel, deception in order for that to work. You might get something else. You might have religion, but you might have something else that would fall within that realm. So definitely being a cultist and then having gotten out or just getting out, kind of thing, is something that could be interesting and could be a good tie-in if you're going to play a somewhat cult slash demonic heavy game. You might have some things that you might know about or have interacted with. You might be up against what you used to consider fellow allies. So those are all fantastic things.
double underscore. How do you resolve conflicts between background and backstory? The player takes a background for tools, languages, and proficiency to flesh out an idea.
So, I mean, the difference between background and backstory, you know, I imagine you're going to wind up making everything work out. The only conflict is when you have those ridiculous things that lately have come out in memes where it's like, oh, what my backstory says I did, and you've got this huge Titanic warrior versus the actual backstory, and it's a piddly little weakling because you're
Yeah. Well,
not
come
even a
on. You
first
don't need
level
memes
adventure.
for that, man. That has come up in games where someone's like, "I was a general for an army." Blah blah. I'm like, "You're first level. You haven't done shit yet." So
So like it really should come down to the story. Now, Dave and I, when it comes to backstory these days, we tend to be on opposite ends of the coin. I like to come up with a lot of information, and Dave likes to be like, all right, I got a character idea here. I might have one or two things that my character has done previously, but as the story unfolds, I'm going to work things in, and both I feel work just fine as valid play styles. So you don't have to have everything figured out, and you absolutely can sit there and be like, hey, I got an idea. We're 7 sessions in. did you know that my character had a daughter? It's like, what? You're just going to drop that now? Sure, why not? So all of these things are great and, can be linked to backstory as you see fit.
Also, like they should coincide anyway. Like you should be picking a background that has something to do with your backstory, and also like the background stuff is kind of nebulous anyway. So if you're looking for specific skills, you can kind of play with that anyway. Like you're you're technically supposed to uh the order you're supposed to build your character in like can lead to some discrepancies with your background where it's like, oh, you actually have this skill already, so choose something else, and that something else can be anything.
Right.
I mean, there are pieces where you can kind of get fiddly with it that way as well. But I feel like most of the time you wouldn't need to. Like I would think that whatever background you're looking at would in some way inspire your backstory or be inspired by your backstory.
Yeah, because technically the way fifth edition has you walk through character creation, you choose, stats, race, class, then a background. Even though mechanically or by timeline,
Yeah.
you've got race, background, stats, and class.
And also background is one of the few things that actually sets the like you get this where like your classes like choose.
Right. But because the way it's built, it does give you allow the, oh well, I took religion and insight from cleric, so when I took acolyte, well, now I've got the chance to choose any two skills that I want. So you can modify slash break the game if you want to play that kind of thing. I don't typically do that. If when I'm putting together a character, if I say, oh well, I'm taking acolyte, well, then when I choose cleric, I'm going to choose different skills other than religion and insight because I know I'm getting them from acolyte.
Yeah, yeah.
Or however, whatever your choices are. I was just using that one as an example. So it's up to you as to how you want to make those kinds of selections.
Doug brings up a good point. Our general could have been cursed or diminished in power somehow. That absolutely works. It's just that the people that have come to my table in the past with that idea, that's not what they were going for.
I've debated, playing a character who has gone through some kind of ridiculous thing, and I wonder like how crazy is that too? Like, well, I've lived this whole life, and somehow I'm now back to square one. You could totally do that kind of thing, and just like, all right, well, was I a good guy? Was I a bad guy? Am I trying to rebuild my life and
I
make up for my past sins? Or
I feel like the Gothic lineages combined with the what is the rogue subclass where you died? Uh,
oh yeah, the rogue subclass where you've expired.
I feel like that combination is really good for kind of building that type of character.
Could definitely go down that road. I imagine you're pulling that up now.
Phantom, that's what it is. Yay, D&D Beyond.
Yep, quickly finding all of the information. So I would imagine playing that kind of character, uh, would be interesting.
Like a reborn, or even or any of them really, but like either the reborn or the Franken. Is the reborn the Frankenstein monster one, or is that different?
No, the
Because it was, I know there was the Dampier, the reborn. For whatever reason, I can construct it.
yes, constructed.
Yeah. Um, Like I feel like the reborn or the constructed one would be kind of hexblood. That's what it is. That's the other one. So I feel like they're like you taking the reborn and playing a phantom, and if you went with the kind of um, Frankenstein monster type thing where you're like being constructed of a bunch of different body parts, like some of those phantom abilities would kind of play nicely with like drawing on like the different parts you've been constructed of.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to go in that direction, I know this is, getting more into race and backstory than it is background, but like for a lot of things, these things do kind of go hand in hand. It's hard to have a background and not a backstory. Um, but if you were to create a character who has done something great and for whatever reason has been made into something else, that would give cause to be able to like, all right, now I need to start over. I don't have all of my memories. And you could even have like a different type of character than what you used to be able to do. And, perhaps your new form, you're not able to hold the sword or practice magic the way you used to.
So Aaron Parks, if someone gets a skill from two different sources, do you have them pick another skill, or do you grant expertise in the one that's doubled up on? So you wouldn't get expertise. And also, like the game is kind of specific. Like there's definitely some subclasses where you gain a level or take the subclass, get access to a new skill, and sometimes it'll be like if you have this already, choose something else. Or it's just like if you don't have it already, you get it. So it's weird because sometimes the system is very forgiving, and other times like, nah, dog, you're beat. So I think in most of our games, though, we would just allow you to pick something different.
Yeah, typically you get a different skill if if you come upon a thing like, all right, you multi-class into cleric with a knowledge domain. You get expertise and proficiency in arcana and history. That's what that domain is all about. Now, if you happen to have both, one or both of those, you're still going to get the expertise in them. But for whichever one you had previously, because you're getting the skill proficiency, you would get to choose a new skill. Even though, like, or at least in our games, I don't know the specific wording of what it says.
Yeah, because sometimes it definitely does that, and other times it definitely does not.
Oh, here we go. Here's a question on about Enzo and Tabitha. Do we know what their backgrounds are?
Oh, what did I take?
I'm gonna guess guild artisan. They get the cook stools.
No, I took the feat to get that. Oh, I took entertainer.
Okay.
I went with entertainer. I don't know it. I don't know what Tabitha's background is.
Doug is in the chat, so we'll see if Doug winds up responding as to what her background was.
I feel like Enzo's is kind of because like I do make a lot. I have made a lot of perform checks.
You have indeed.
Yeah, like basically he does the elven equivalent to hibachi essentially. We got a fisher from Doug. Tabitha is a fisher.
And that would be definitely different than a fissure.
Yeah, that would definitely be different than that for sure.
So just that since we're bringing up Dungeons and Delving now a couple of times, this is a reminder that there is not going to be a session tomorrow night. I am off and running, and as I said earlier, fleeing the state. So we will return.
Are you playing with wands? Are you going to do the wand thing?
We are going to be doing the wand thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully there will be no splitting migraine this time, as that's what transpired last time. I spent many hours in a dark room in utter silence with.
You did it just to escape your family, didn't you? You just wanted to just wanted peace and quiet. You're like, this is my vacation. Me in this dark room by myself.
If that were the case, I would be like, you guys go. I'm gonna stay here.
Yeah. That sucks.
You guys go have 48 hours without me.
I don't
There's
know.
a
What else is there to do up there? I know you have the wand thing, right?
there's a
Right?
wand
Like, so what is the
thing.
wand? Like, is that like a geocaching thing? What is that?
So for those who apparently are diving into Ted's personal vacation life, we're going to Great Wolf Lodge, and they have what's called Magic Quest.
You're not
And
supposed to
throughout,
tell them where you're going. Now they can stalk you.
okay, if anybody wants to try and somehow book a vacation in the next 12 hours, feel free. Uh, but Magic Quest is over the course of like the three or four like floors of the hotel. There are a smattering of these interactive screens, and there is a whole quest that you can kind of get these magic wands and go on a hours long quest to try and solve all the riddles, do all of the cool interactive things. And the kids get these wands that are about 18 inches long or so.
So when they're not playing the game and questing, they can beat each other with them.
They could, but that will break them quite quickly. But there's a water park. We're also planning to do, leave the hotel and do some geocaching that's out of state. So that we're definitely in a different area than we used to do here in South Jersey.
Yeah.
So we've definitely got some stuff planned for when it's dark and whatever. We're bringing some board games to have some fun with. So
Family board game night. Sweet.
indeed.
Although I don't think you had to leave the state for that.
No, we definitely
You've got plenty of board games at your house.
Yeah, and they're ones that I'm bringing with, so it's not like
Yeah.
there's there that we don't have this one now.
I know you guys have the wand game that you go and do your quests, and then there's also like a water park. But that sounds like a COVID petri dish to me. So.
Well, I imagine that they've probably upped the chlorine intake, which means I'm probably going to be
Bleach.
spending
Straight up bleach.
far less time doing that aspect than doing other things. So, but as previously stated, I'm one shot in. We had to get our COVID test, to make sure that we are COVID free. So
To leave the state. Okay.
yeah, that happened yesterday. Well, not necessarily just to leave the state, but just to kind of show the people that we're clean. You can't check in without that paperwork.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't go anywhere. I normally don't go anywhere, and now I go even less places. So.
Well, I'm usually in the same boat, but I kind of got roped into this thing.
Yeah, family.
I will throw, since we're talking Ted's personal gaming stuff and whatever have you, I will throw myself further under the bus. My son, who very much loves chess and is has been trying for the last several years to finally beat me. It came close today. We got to a point where I was like, all right, I can't see what his strategy is here. And had he been a little bit more aggressive at one point in time, I think he might have had me, but I still remain undefeated.
Nice. 10-year-olds everywhere, beware.
He's almost 13. Thank you very much.
I have no idea how my nephews and nieces are.
My son turns.
They're all like little.
My son turns 13 later this month, and my daughter is 9.
Yeah. Have you played the kids game? What you refer to the kids game?
I've not played in probably 45 days. I know some of them are getting a bit antsy. It's rough with everything that has been trying to go on. It's like, all right, I need to breathe for a little bit.
Well, I met the kids are all like Zoom experts now. So.
They are. In fact, my daughter has used my spare laptop every so often. Like, yeah, I'm just gonna Zoom chat with my friend. Like, how are you starting phone calls?
It's not a phone call; it's a Zoom call.
Well,
that's completely different.
Yeah.
See, Mr. Rob's cleaning service knows people that work. He can stalk you by proxy.
All right. Well, if you wish to stalk me by proxy, Mr. Rob's cleaning service, feel free. But there are lots of different Great Wolves out there.
I guess there's that. I didn't know it was like a chain or something.
Yeah, I think there are multiple across many different states. So
understood.
It is what it is. So, all right, we're getting down to the last few moments. Is there anything that you want to talk about or rope back into the actual listed chat concept idea here
Of backgrounds.
of backgrounds, backstories? Anything
I
you
don't
wanted
know. I think
to?
I'm done with backgrounds right now. I'm thinking when this ends, I'm going to go watch an episode of Teen Titans.
Anything that you want to cover before we go? Anything you want to pimp later on in the week?
So we got one less live chat this week because we don't have your game, so one less thing on the live thing. But we had Dingo Doodles on today, which was cool. She was fun to talk to, and it was cool because I saw her channel explode overnight. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I remember Nate was still around back then. And I was like, hey Nate, look at this thing. And then and it went from 9,000 views to 90,000 views overnight. It was karaoke doomed the world or something. Was her first video.
Indeed.
And then tomorrow we got Frog God on. So it's always cool to talk to those folks. We got Dungeon Scribe coming in. Later in the week, we got a writer for Vampire and Werewolf. So that'll be fun. Who am I forgetting? I don't have them all memorized off the top of my head. Now you put me on the spot, Ted.
Isn't Gil this week as well?
Oh yeah, Gil. Yeah, fucking Gil. Is going to be on this week as well, right?
So if you watch Critical Role and you hear the "Don't F me, Gil," that's the Gil that they're talking about.
Yeah, he's like a blacksmith and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that should be fun as well. You won't be there to recount your one-time blacksmithing where you swung the hammer 3 times.
I will not.
I have not blacksmithed, so I have no comparisons.
Yeah, it was many eons ago.
Yeah. So I was. Yeah.
No, I said that was pre-2000. So yeah, that was a long time ago.
Oh, that was that a Boy Scouting thing? That sounds like a Boy Scouting thing.
That was when I was in Philmont in 1995, summer of '95, summer '94. Quite a ways ago.
Yeah, that would be a little while ago. So you said untraditionally arcane. You said that was session 3, right? You said you don't know how many sessions you're going to go with that?
We have not figured that part out. We know, that they are trying to hit all 8 of these, secret locations that are linked to the different schools of magic.
And
they haven't hit the first one yet, so we are. We're gonna have to see how long this winds up taking.
Yeah. We also let's see. Wait a minute. Wasn't this weekend? This weekend we didn't have anything. No games, right? This past weekend. It was
this past weekend. Coming up is going to be my game, Repercussions, as I've kind of named it.
And the week before that, we had our first actual session of Monster of the Week. Which we kind of have a video. We have a video coming out on that. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Less the specific game and more about the game itself and not the session that we ran.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we could have talked about that a little bit.
Oh well, maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Well, we got a minute. What can we do in 60 seconds?
Well, I'm showing 9:02 here. I'm showing 2 minutes after.
2 minutes after. You know what? My computer says 2 minutes after, but my computer's. Oh no, it is. Oh, you son of a bitch! It's right now. For the longest time, my computer was 2 minutes behind, and I knew I have no idea why. And now it's right all of a sudden. That's gonna mess me up.
Apparently, Viking Beard is calling. Calling for us to talk about it. So we can go over if you want to talk about Monster of the Week. I don't have a problem with it.
All right. So I read my first mystery, and what am I looking for? This is what I'm looking for. I've played 2 sessions of this game, and then I did a read through of the rules, And so then we did our session 0, and then we ran our first game. And mystery 1 was I had my heart stolen at Tall Pines. And Tall Pines, I don't know if you're familiar with the Jellystone campgrounds. Like, it's another like chain. It's more like glamping than camping, really. But like there was one that we would go to every summer, and we did it for quite a few summers. So I ran our first mystery there, and it's also called Tall Pines, and it was definitely themed around New Jersey and the Jersey Devil. So I don't know. It seems like you guys had fun. Oh no, maybe Ted's had enough because he appears to be frozen. It's like, but maybe next time when me and Ted are on here again, we'll talk about it. By that time, maybe we'll have another session under our belt to talk about as well. So until next time, stay nerdy.